Now let's talk about the first of all the principles. That's the fairness principle. Fairness principle, no doubt, has a major role to play in personal relationship. This is a principle that's based on not taking advantage of others, even when you have the opportunity to do so on a platter of gold. So this involves being fair to other people in any dealings, be it in casual relationship, be it in strong relationship that requires some form of, that is in casual. You want to try as much as you can to see how best you deal fairly with the other party. And being fair to other people helps build a foundation for primary greatness generally in life. And one thing about fairness principle is it helps fosters interpersonal as well as intrapersonal relationship. How do I mean? When you have fairness principles in your attribute, you realize that you would have this good relationship with yourself, and as well, this would as well reflect in your relationship with other people. But in a situation whereby you don't have fairness principle, or you don't have fairness attributes in one way or the other embedded into your attribute, you would realize that you wouldn't feel so satisfied, most especially when it comes to life fulfillment. In one way or the other, you would always feel this gap, emptiness in one way or the other, perhaps when you've treated people unfairly. In one way or the other, it often comes back because you wouldn't feel this joy sort of. Even if there are joy, it's going to be momentarily. As I earlier on mentioned, that most instances people tend to make some certain decisions based on the immediate benefit. But you realize on the long run, treating people unfairly really doesn't worth it. So what you want to do is, in order for you to have a good intrapersonal relationship, that is relationship with oneself, it is important to see how best one include or integrate fairness principles into one's attribute. And those who lack fairness principles in one way or the other lacks intrapersonal intelligence. And one thing about fairness principle is, it's like I earlier on mentioned, it has a major role to play when it comes to relationship, in building relationship. Take for instance, have you at one point or the other get to know about an opportunity, and really you don't need such opportunity, but you realize such opportunity could benefit someone else within your group of friends or within your contacts, and you begin to take a scroll look at your phone to see who and who could be a beneficiary of such opportunity. And meanwhile, you've seen someone who, in one way or the other, you've had dealings with on a casual basis, or perhaps in one way or the other, but you realize the person doesn't have fairness principle because in one way or the other, he didn't treat you fairly, or you see him not treating other person fairly. In one way or the other, you would have a little bit of reservations as to giving such person an opportunity, most especially when such opportunity requires someone who exhibits fairness principle. So sometimes when someone felt, the need not to treat the other person unfairly, or see the need not to include fairness principles into his or her attribute, you realize that in one way or the other, it still all result into a compound effect, which might as well sabotage the perpetrators of such unfairness principles on the long run. So it is important to see how best one could integrate fairness principles into his ways of life, and see how best you can use that to foster your personal relationship. At each and every time, you want to keep asking yourself, have I actually treated this other person fairly, be it in casual relationship, in whichever way you want to see how best you treat others fairly. And when it comes to fairness principle, it is easy the best way to embed or to inculcate such attributes into, or such principles into one's attribute is, first examine other people, examine how you are being treated, and put yourself in the positions of other people and ask, in situations like this, how would I love to be treated when it comes to fairness principle? You can write it down and make that your own fairness principles in dealing with other people. Before you realize it, you will be able to strengthen your relationship and as well see how best you keep making progress. Also, fairness principle has a major role to play in business. You want to be fair to your customers. Take, for instance, there is a store in your street. Let's say you have 3 stores, people who sells things in stores. And out of these 3 people, you realize one of them seems to be very fair, most especially in his business transactions. Whenever you go there to buy something, you realize he's always fair when he's attending to you. He tends to put a little smile, shows that you are important in one way or the other to his business growth. And the other two doesn't really care. No doubt about the fact that you feel more inclined to the person who treats you much more fairly. And before you realize it, your business would always have much of patronage as compared to others. So you want to be fair to your business partners as well in any business dealings. And you can always ask from your business partners or your customers, on a scale of 1 to 10, how have I been fair to you? Or how have our business been fair to you? So let them give you feedback, and you can as well utilize the feedback to design how you would love to be treated. How you would use those feedback to design your own fairness principles, and thus utilize those fairness principles to treat others in a way that would keep nurturing your relationship with others and keep contributing to growth, both in your personal relationship as well as in your business relationship.